Hi, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Cultural Communication Confidence with me, Victoria Reynoldson. And I'm really excited to have a guest with us today. We have Carol Constant joining us from Czechia. Hello, Carol.
Hi, hello. Hi, Victoria. Very happy to be here today.
Fantastic. Well, we met a couple of months ago at the Digital Women Awards, and you won an amazing award there. So many congratulations for this one.
Thank you. I was very, very happy because in a way I did not expect it. So I was surprised when I hear my name. And the way I see it, the award was for Leader of the Year. It's not just because I achieved something, but because I helped so many other people achieve positions in leadership. And that's what made me very, very proud of it. And I wanted to congratulate you.
Indeed.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, yes, I've just also won an award. So, thank you, Carol. I really appreciate that, the Trailblazer Award. So, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I loved how you framed that. It's obviously something which is amazing for personal recognition, but it's also about all the other people that we work with and help, right?
Exactly, exactly. Especially where we are, what we both are doing. So yes, definitely. That's what makes me the most, the prouder about it. Yes.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that I was really interested in when we first met was
Mhm.
you have this amazing app, this kind of game, which is all about understanding different people and how they work. But
Yeah.
very fascinatingly, you're using it in an intriguing way to help with teams and recruitment. Do you want to just explain a little bit more about this?
Yes. So as you say, we have an app, and then we have a platform connected to the app to get all the data, etc. So what we use it is for team fit. So to for recruitment, for example, or for team building, to make sure that when we are building teams, we are putting people in teams, we take into consideration how they are going to work together. So the team synergies is not just that you are taking one person for a position; they are not going to work alone. Correct. So you need to also take into consideration all these other aspects, the people they are going to be working with. And also because nowadays with the use of AI, CVs and cover letters are not a true reflection of what they were called before character letters. They are not anymore. They are done by AI or by a professional. So yeah, that's very limiting.
Understand. Now, team fit is obviously not a new concept or
Mhm.
idea because, clearly through the recruitment process, um, the recruiting manager or the HR team are often trying to test this through the interview process. So, how is your app different? How does it really test that team fit
Yes,
accurately and give you that insight?
yes, because we base it on two things. So data. So its data is got us, we have scores and so on. And also because the traditional way to do it, we are 2024, but we're still using last century. We are using questionnaires and we are using interviews. And these are very biased because if you ask me about myself, I'm going to ask you what I think about myself. But maybe that's not how I am. So imagine, let's stick to two extremes. Imagine someone who's a narcissist. They're going to say they are the best, they're amazing, la, la, la. And imagine someone who's got imposter syndrome. They're going to say, oh, maybe, I'm okay. And this is what we get with these questionnaires. We get the self-perception of the person, not the real self. So what we are trying to do is we don't ask you any questions, we just ask you play. Play these games, and based on your game strategy, we build the profiles. That's the difference.
I love that. And it's really fascinating because obviously, what can happen in an interview process is it's the person who can sell themselves in the best possible way that is the person who gets the job. But as you say, that might not be a true reflection. But of course, there have been various personality testing,
Mhm.
various other testing methodologies. And I'm very aware, when I was in my first career in marketing, I went through many of these types of testing profiles for people to sort of get that insight. So, how is this different?
So first of all, it's not a test. Yes, and many of these tests, again, they're asking you, how are you or something. Yes, so we are asking you to play a game. So they are our games, and the way we see it is, you will be amazed of how different people play. And it's just, this kind of cognitive games. So, for example, we are going to ask you the first question. We're going to ask you to solve a puzzle. And yes, this is in many questionnaires, but we are going to ask you to bet how sure you are of your answer. Yes. And some people, for example, they go straight to the 100. It's an easy puzzle. It's not a difficult one. And some people go straight to 100, but some people even ask 20, 30 questions. They never, ever get 100. Never. Yes. So we are looking at your decision making, your risk profile, your confidence, problem solving, and so on. From not asking you, just seeing what you do. When you decide to start one game and finish another one, go up a level, a number of data points that we use to build the profile. So it's not what you tell us, is what you do. And that's the difference.
I love that. And you very kindly gave me some access to the app, and it's really fascinating to play it because there is something about how sure are you? Do you back yourself in certain situations? How quickly you make your decisions? And I found that all very, very intriguing. So how are sort of the companies, the clients that you work with using it in real time? Like, so they would use this as part of the recruitment early on or towards the end of the process? How would you sort of normally recommend it?
Yes. So if they are using it for recruitment, normally what they do is at the end. So they have, all the AI, because if we're talking about big companies, they have hundreds and hundreds of CVs. So they do the pre-selection just using the normal tools that they would use. Yes. And so what we are doing is we are helping them with a short list of candidates because of this team fit. So team fit, cultural fit, and so on. So imagine that they had, I don't know, 100 applicants, just for, and at the end of the process, even after interviews, we help them with the last 5 candidates, for example.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense in terms of
Mm-hmm.
then making the decision point. But I'm kind of curious because I thought maybe I misheard, but I thought you said something about CVs or resumes
Yes.
really being a little bit sort of out of
Yeah.
date now, or not the
Mm-hmm.
best way to recruit. And that's quite challenging to what is really the mainstream. So why do you think the CV or the resume is really outdated and not the best way to be recruiting right now?
Yes, because everybody is building their CVs and their cover letters using ChatGPT or AI. They know that there's an algorithm that's going to pick keywords because there's no other way to train these algorithms but through keywords. And that's a completely different way of when one person is looking at it because they are looking at the overall big picture, let's say. The algorithm cannot do it. They can only look at specific data for data collection. And so every candidate is building these CVs according to the keywords that they can see on their job posting. Yes. And so everybody's is mainly using the same thing just to get through this fast filter. The same happens for cover letters. So after all of this, there's the main filter. Then is the human component, and that's where we help with the human component. So one of the ways we do it, we help in the companies is first of all we need to build a profile of the team. So we have the team. Imagine it's a team of 5 people. One other person is going to come up there. How can you know what type of profile you need if you don't need what are the gaps or what is this people going to bring there? It's not the same when you already have 5 people and then you bring one more, but then you bring another 2 others. It's a completely different situation. So you need to see what you have first, and then you need to see what to add. Imagine, let's give an example. Imagine that you are cooking soup. Yes. and you put salt and it tastes better. Yes. And then
Yeah.
you put a bit more and maybe it's still okay. But if you keep adding salt, it's going to be terrible. Yes. So
Yeah.
that's why we need a first assessment.
I love that. The soup analogy, that's a really great one. And I think that's also a really good point because sometimes team fit might not be recruiting somebody who's similar to the team. Actually, it might be about complementary skills or complementary ways of thinking and considering how to approach problems, for example, right?
It's both. It's both. So
Yeah.
you need some that are the same and some that are complementary. So that's how it works best in our
Interesting.
experience. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And I know that one of the other topics I know you're really passionate about is women in leadership. And that's a really passionate topic for you.
Yes.
I mean, I know you're a woman, but why is it so personal to you? What is, why is this like such a mission for you?
Well, you just said it. Of course, because I'm a woman, but also if you look at any research, MIT, etc., and you look at team performance, because we are in team performance, that's our space, and you look at what is it that makes teams perform best,
Mm.
they overlap. They overlap with female leadership because there are 3 points. Two of them is communication, surprise,
Very
surprise, non-verbal
important.
communication, verbal communication, of course. And the third one is how many women are on the team.
Mhm.
So both come together. So women accessing leadership positions and teams performing better because women are there. And many people think, why is that? Are women so super women? Are we Wonder Women? All are amazing. Yes. So why is that? I just wonder if anybody ever think, because data show us that, yeah. So if a woman comes into a team, and the reason why is not only because of the woman, it's not only because a woman is there and is amazing, it's because of men in the team. Men behave differently when it's only men or when there is women. The communication changes, the complete team synergy changes when there is one woman or there is two women, depending on the ratio, correct?
Mm.
And that is why.
Interesting. Wow. I had never thought about it in that way before, but actually the dynamic and the blend is obviously so, so important. And of course, you are a woman in a leader in tech as well, which is obviously a space which is traditionally been quite men-led. So, how do you find that as a women leader in the space? I mean, have you come up against challenges, establishing yourself with your business in that place?
Yes, definitely. So first of all, as you say, so woman tech is like it doesn't until very, very recently. So first of all, I wanted to build my profile as an expert, as a woman in tech. And that's why, for example, I'm a Google ambassador for women in tech. So that's you need to same as with the leadership, yes. So
Mm.
you need to kind of put medals. So yeah, okay, she is this or she is that, and it's been very, yeah, it's a learning experience because you get in touch with women all around the world that are in tech, yeah. And then yeah, you learn so much about what are some of the challenges, what are some of their strategies. Even myself, I have a technology company and I'm
Mm.
trying to get as many women as possible because I know it's good for the team, etc. And it's been a challenge. It's a challenge, still a challenge. Find women.
Mm. And for women who are listening, who are working in perhaps in environments and industries which are traditionally more male dominant. So I'm
Mhm.
just thinking, I've been working with clients who are in the energy industry, who've been working in engineering. What is it you think women need to be successful in these kinds of environments? Is it about mindset? Is it about skill set? Or is it about confidence? What is it for you, do you think?
Um, I think, for my experience, for a woman to be able to be successful in this type of environment is their ability to
Mhm.
find allies, because you cannot do it alone. It's just not possible. You are one against, many, too many. So it's your ability to really build allies with male. And that is so it is just how well you, yeah, is you cannot do it alone, really. You cannot. It doesn't matter if you are the best, you are super expert. You need to have that recognition that, like, oh, let's listen to her because she
Mm.
knows. So if someone needs to sell you, so it doesn't matter. It's like when you have business, it doesn't matter what you say, is what your clients say about you, correct?
Mm.
So it
Correct.
is the same in business, and it's the same for your career progression. So someone else needs to say about you, needs to be selling you, and that's the key to get
Mm.
to high places.
So it's really about identifying who are the key influencers or allies, and
Mhm.
can almost advocate for you on your behalf. That's really
Yes,
interesting. And does visibility come into this as well? So being able to be visible and feel comfortable being visible?
exactly.
Mm.
And that's why, mentorship programs, sponsorship programs are so important. And also, we were saying before about teams, and what teams are the most successful. Well, the teams where the people speak equally. So there's no dominating voices. So it's the same here. So you need to be able to be seen, to be heard, and that's what it will make you and your team perform their best.
Mm. And you touched on communication styles, and obviously that is
Mhm.
something I'm really passionate and interested in, particularly connected to
Mhm.
leadership teams, to different cultural styles as well of communication. And I'm sort of really interested. I mean, do you think women have a different sort of communication style to men? You talked about the impact of having a woman leader in the team, but do you think there is a different style that women have then?
Yes, definitely, definitely. For cultural reasons mainly. So we are educated, we are raised in different way, more collaborative, for example, a bit less competitive. Even a woman who is very competitive, it's we have a different style of communication, and we tend to more to bring people together more. We, for example, as part of our assessments, we do assessments, as you know. In the app, you don't see it there. It is there, but you cannot access it. We have to give you a code. But in our team assessments, we also assess nonverbal communication. So we also will, for example, put a picture of some eyes and what are these eyes saying? Yes, because we want to assess this nonverbal communication. And normally women perform better in this kind of nonverbal communication test. That can be, the experts will say that can have genetic and cultural, because women traditionally for millennia have took care of children, the babies, and they are nonverbal, obviously. So that's something that is key, and we are not utilizing it as much as we should. The feminine intuition.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
And I love the way that you're actually measuring also nonverbal communication, because I am a
Mhm.
great believer in, communication is 360. It's not just about the words or, being clear. Actually, there is so much that goes on in the voice, in the eyes, in our hand gestures, everything really. So I'm really interested that you're also using this in your assessments. Um,
Yes.
and I think, the other angle, which I'm also quite curious about, because I know you're based in Czechia and you're working globally with different organizations. And one of the things that obviously I'm really interested in is how do things change culturally? So when you kind of are potentially working with recruitment, maybe with different markets, bringing in people from different cultural backgrounds, how does that influence, I suppose, the team dynamic, and how do you see it in your work?
It influences this enormously. Like
Mm.
we, as you say, we are based in Czechia, so close to Prague, beautiful city, and but our main market is Switzerland, because Switzerland has no budget problems. So our main customers are in Switzerland, and Switzerland is very multicultural. Is multi-language, yes. So they
Mhm.
have different languages, but also to Switzerland, people from all over the world go to work there, and
Mm.
it will be impossible to do team synergies and team assessment and so on without taking into consideration cultural aspects to it. And it is fascinating. I absolutely love it. So, for example, to give you one example, we are now helping a big corporation and with engineers from all over the world. And when we are doing the assessments, and then we are sharing it with the managers, and that comes into play. That comes into play because, for example, what you're saying, the type of communication. Imagine somebody from Japan, someone from southern Europe, or South America, because we get people from all over. There, normally the communication style in the workplace is more hierarchical. There is is considered even a lack of respect if you contradict a little bit your manager, yes? Whereas we have also engineers from Australia, from the UK, from the Netherlands, from Switzerland, where democracies, where everybody talks, and it's absolutely normal. But and that plays a big role in the communication in the team, in the psychological safety. First of all, the person needs to be aware of it. Also, the manager needs to be aware of it. And normally, we also recommend interventions because it might take quite a long time for these people that are new to this new way of communicating to really get into full gear with this, yes? And that might take 2 years even. We are seeing profiles, it takes a long time. The shorter you can make it so they can contribute more and they can be more, bring all the skills in their potential, the better, the much better will be for the team.
I can imagine. And what sort of interventions would you recommend in that sort of situation? So, I know that obviously there are many sort of global headquarters in European headquarters as well in Switzerland, very, very diverse, very international. When you come across these kind of challenges with kind of very diverse cultures, perhaps people having very different communication styles, do you have something that you normally recommend them?
Yes, so the way, first of all, we would do an assessment, and one of them is we are gamification, yes. So one of our games that give us a lot of information is one game that we call "The Boss is Always Right."
Love it.
Yes.
And that's a brilliant name for a game.
Yes. So we're playing games. We're playing our games, and first, beforehand, we talk to the boss and we say, well, look, choose any of the questions. But once the team has decided, let's say option A, you're going to say, oh, well, I actually see option B. Yes. So he needs to go against the team. And when we tell them this, every single boss goes, oh, they're going to tell me immediately. Yeah, you will see. No, you will be, they are amazed. They are looking at me like, I cannot believe what is happening here. Yes. So and then we take note of everything, how not just how they said, what everybody said at every point, because that dynamics is what happens when this happens again, and they are not telling them what they really think. They are a bit scared of telling them. So we start with this one, and then once we have all this information, we can see what is the right tool. Many times we recommend some coaching people specialized in that particular area, and many times we also recommend a coach that speaks the language and knows the culture of that person. So it's very personalized, but it doesn't take that long, because the most important is self-awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to. I mean, I think with anything like this, it really does start with the recognition of what's going on within yourself and with others. And I love that approach of the gaming of that, to be able to identify that as a challenge. So thank you for sharing that. Um, just moving on, I think one of the things that I'm really interested in is because you are obviously at the forefront of what is happening with assessment, thinking about the future of recruitment, how to make it more meaningful to bring the right team member in. How do you see it developing in the future? Like, what are you, because obviously everything feels like it's moving quite fast. So I'm sure the listeners to this podcast are really curious. Like, how do you see it evolving over the next few years in recruitment?
Yeah, so I see more uh, alternatives like ours getting there into play, because if the old tools are a bit old, correct, so
Yeah.
it is going to be very much building not just your technical skills, yes,
Mm.
but also your team skills, soft skills, call it as you like, but based on data, not based on what you think. So yes, I see it more, and there are many more. I can name you a few, and a lot of big companies are doing it, smaller companies as well. So we are at the beginning, but this over the next 5 years is going to explode because the results are so good.
I love that. And I think, I'm absolutely very much agreement about, I call them human skills, but human skills are really needed now more than ever. And I love the way that you can bring that measurement piece to it and the data piece to it. So, I also work with sometimes with students who are sort of early career or people who are entering the workplace, or even people coming off MBA kind of programs as well. So, for those people who are sort of earlier in career or less experienced, or perhaps they're reinventing themselves right now, what kind of specific skills do you think people should be focusing on and developing?
Well, that very much depends on what is their focus. But I believe that number one is communication. I know it seems like, but for example, talking about MBA, I was helping, I do mentoring, and I was helping somebody get into a very prestigious MBA that, it goes by interview and it's really expensive. And, but still, they only choose a handful of people. And a lot of it goes into the interview, correct, and that interview, that 10-minute interview, is going to make or break her future, let's say. Yeah. And I was preparing her for this, so you really need to be able to be very good at interviews. That is a really fantastic skill. And some people are extremely good at interviews and then very bad at the job
Yeah.
because they have master interviews. But the point is just master interviews. One of the things that people tend to do is they talk very quickly.
Mm.
They are very nervous. They want to say so much, but it you need to project this self-confidence, and
Mm.
you will not do it if you speak very quickly. And we tend to do that. So first of all, I would suggest do a self-assessment of yourself. Listen, record yourself, listen to yourself. Because if you ask your friends, they are not going to be able to give you much information because this is biased. So
Mm.
try to assess how are your communication skills now.
Mm. I think
And
it's a
then,
great tip.
mhm, mhm. Are you using any sometimes what people are saying is so interesting, but they keep saying this tag, this word that they repeat again and again, and it comes a moment that I cannot listen to it anymore. Sometimes in podcasts, yes,
Yeah.
and that's so important. So first of all, do an assessment of your communication. That's key, and then you know in which direction you can go.
Yeah. And I think that's really great advice. We can do so much by just recording ourselves and listening and watching back, even if that feels deeply uncomfortable. And it does for many, many people. We're not used to listening to our own voices. In fact, I think I was reading some research recently that the way we hear our voices in our head is completely different from how it sounds when it's recorded because of the physical, literally the distance. But yeah, I think these are great ideas about how to really also think about improvement in communication and interviews. So what is next for Whom Lab? What's coming up? We're sort of recording this towards the end of one year. New year is starting very shortly. What's kind of coming up next for you personally and for the business?
Yeah, so for the business, we were very lucky that we got into a business accelerator that is very prestigious and is in Switzerland. And that's why we got to work with corporations, because normally when you start, you work with smaller companies. Of course, we were also with smaller companies, but we got to work with multinationals. They are there in 50 countries, 10,000 employees. So our path for next year is keep these really big names there and even more, and grow in the Swiss market. We are being so successful that we are even thinking to open a branch there. So let's see what happens, what happens eventually. But we love the market for
Mm,
just not just because they have the budget, but also because they are so, is the number one innovation country in the world.
mm.
And just being there and just being among these people with this innovation mentality is so rewarding. So yes, more
Excellent. Well,
Swiss.
it sounds like brilliant plans ahead. And obviously, I'm based in the UK, but this podcast goes out internationally. People listen literally all over the world. So if people are kind of really curious about what they've heard here today, maybe might be a team leader listening or somebody in HR and thinking, actually, this could be quite interesting, this assessment, looking at team fit, even in recruitment, and they want to find out more about your app and your assessments. What is the best way for people to be sort of in touch with you, Carol?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is an easy one, or of course our website, and if you want to share my email address, happy to.
Excellent. Well, we'll put all the links kind of in the show notes to your LinkedIn, to your website, and of course, people can be in touch to sort of find out more. But I know myself when I tried it out, it was really eye-opening, and absolutely fascinating. A very different kind of gaming and testing to kind of understand my profile. So thank you for that. But Carol, something I kind of like to ask people towards the end of the podcast, and is a question. And that question is, what is something you've learned about communication or even leadership recently? What's something that you want to sort of share and leave with the audience?
Oh, okay. So I am fascinated by communication. So we are talking all the time about communication here today. So I guess you'll know, but maybe some people listening they don't. I pioneer a TEDx Women in Namibia, the very first one in the country, and so I love communication, and so I read also because of course communication is vital in teams, so it's all connected. And what fascinates me is how social media is shaping our communication and
Mm.
this polarization effect that is happening in society. So that is something that yeah, I'm reading and I'm listening more about, because it's going to be yeah, it's going to be a huge change over the next few years.
Absolutely. And yes, I think that's a really sort of interesting conclusion because, of course, so much of kind of where many people go for information is places like LinkedIn or other social media platforms as well. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Carol, for sharing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today, and I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, thank you very much. It felt short. I could be talking for a much longer time.
I know, I know. Well, we'll continue the conversation offline, but in the meantime, thank you, everybody, and look forward to seeing you next time on the show.